Today is Thursday, September the 10th. This is going to be a quick video again today because the technicals are really playing today. And the concern that we had about the market pulling back after yesterday's bounce, it happened. But this is what the McClellan oscillator looked like going into today. So this is yesterday. We had this deeply oversold, and like the last time that it happened, we had a push to just above the oversold line. Now we fast forward to today, and now we're back down exactly at the bottom of the oversold. Does that mean we can go lower? Absolutely means we can go lower. Have we done it before? Last time we were this low, it didn't happen. But look at this mess down here back in March. So that would have been the bottom of coronavirus as we were struggling to recover. We spent a lot of time in the oversold area, deeply oversold to the oversold standard line. So now let's look at the charts because they tell a story. Look at where the SPX stopped, just at the EMA perfectly. We're still after testing the 50 again today. We tested the 50, but we came up and ended the day just a little bit higher towards the end of the day. So it's worth looking at the 5-minute chart on the S&P, and you can see a little bit of excitement at the beginning, then a big drop as the market started losing conviction. But if you were playing the pivot points, Woody's pivot points, and we're going to talk about those on day trading FDX in a second. They were pretty good today. We moved up and we saw our high of the day at the top of the 15-minute mark. Never really exceeded that for 2 candles in a row, and then we started to drop. Found support at the pivot mark. Found rejection just above the pivot mark, but at a 100% fib. Saw support at S1, then support and bounce at S2. So the pivot points were certainly working. So that's the S&P. Stopped at the 8 EMA. I still believe it has to come down and make contact with the cloud. Take a look at the Chiku span. If the Chiku span takes us below this candle here tomorrow, which would be below 33.15, then watch out. Apple. Looked like it was doing well at one point today when it opened. It opened at 120 and then just continued to drop. So glad I'm not holding any Apple right now. I do want to sell some puts, but I'm not going to do it until at least it tests the 50 and bounces. And that 50 EMA is also a 50% Fibonacci. Where we ended the day today is another 50% Fibonacci. We can have more than one, and this is a 50% pullback from on this wave here. That's the 50% right there that we pulled back to, and we ended up right there. So draw any Fibonacci's you think are relevant. For me, it's this wave pulling back to here and then replicating itself up to there and then even going to 114.6. And now I'm measuring the pullback on this particular wave. Caterpillar, we're going to come to FDX in a second. Caterpillar, that's what it looked like for today. It's still above that trend line. Not much to say. Home Depot. Home Depot had a 1.3% pullback. It got rejected by the 8 EMA. It's been testing the 50. I still believe that it too has to come down and touch the cloud and look for support there and see if it gets it. The last one we're going to look at is Whirlpool. Just a little bit of drop from yesterday. Again, look where its cloud is, and it should be heading there. Now, FDX. Who was it? We had a comment on our from Zach. Zach would be interested in looking at FDX. So let's look at that for a second. And certainly, he said it ran up. Well, look at this from coronavirus high to low. It certainly did run up. I didn't pick the coronavirus high and low. when you set Fibonacci's, let me get rid of the cloud for a second. When you set Fibonacci's, you don't always have to take the high and the low. Let's do that in this case. Let's take the high and let's take the low. And what does it tell us? Not really very much. I mean, we pulled back without reaching 78.6. And the 38.2 looks like a decent one. The 23.6 is a minor Fibonacci, as is the 14.6, but they look okay. But the 78.6% should have been hit. So there's nothing wrong with looking for what does fit, and that one fits. That's exactly 78.6% pullback, and you don't have to take this low. You could take that one. And now you've got 78.6, 14.6, 38.2, 61.8. They all fit very nicely as having been points of resistance and support. So that's the Fibonacci that traders may very well be trading off of. Let's look at it on a 5-minute basis. And these are, this is crazy, isn't it? These are the Woody's pivots. Overlay the Woody's pivots, and you can see today that we came up and found, well, we had this opening candle here, but we had resistance at the R1, support just below the S1, resistance at the pivot point, support just below the S2. So once you've learned from this point, you can say, well, maybe the support point next time is going to be there. But now go back and back test and see how good the pivot points were for the last week or two, and decide if you want to trade FDX as a day trader, what you want to use. If you want to use the pivot points or if you want to use the cloud. And the cloud actually is quite useful. Look at the cloud here. We got resistance at the top, combine it with the pivot points, resistance at the cloud. So you could trade with the cloud. Let's look a couple of days ago. Excuse me, I'm sorry. A couple of days ago, this is this green chart is the opening 15 minutes. So if you're not going to pay any attention to that after 15 minutes, you can just take it out of there. But the cloud seems to be working. Here we took advantage of a very thin no resistance and pushed through. We came down to the cloud at a point of very thin resistance and dropped through. So I would say that the cloud is a pretty good trading indicator for FDX. So try using the pivot points and the cloud system if you're going to be trading FDX. I'm still not doing anything, still 50% cash, still have all my Home Depot and Caterpillar covered by in the money November calls. I'm just willing to make money and watch these stocks go up and down, Caterpillar and Home Depot, and just make money as the theta, the time premium, expires on those 800 shares.